Bay Area. Hi, this is Diane. Thank you for joining me for another episode of SFN. Today we're going to talk about the connection between homelessness and substance abuse. Understanding homelessness. There's a strong connection between homelessness and addiction. Although these problems may not seem linked on the surface, they are often closely connected. The lack of stability that comes with homelessness can lead to addiction. At the same time, those battling addictions are more likely to become homeless. What is homelessness? According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, commonly referred to as HUD, homelessness is a defined person who lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Factors that may cause homelessness. Homelessness can occur due to a person's circumstances at home, personal relationships, level of drug and or alcohol addiction if present. In general, though, there are three primary causes of homelessness. 1, the inability to secure or maintain employment. People with severe drug and or alcohol addiction cases often can't secure a job. If they have a job, they may struggle to show up to work consistently on time. This is usually because they're tired and have trouble focusing. Such habits can result in job loss. 2, drug and alcohol dependence. People who struggle with drug and alcohol abuse will often do anything to continue abusing substances. This is often because they become dependent on the substance, which causes uncomfortable withdrawal symptoms when they stop using drugs or alcohol. In most cases, they'll do anything to fund their addiction, which leaves little money for housing. These things that they will do can be sex work, theft, retail theft especially, stealing from family and friends, making poor financial decisions, and always lots of legal troubles. 3, another cause is mental illness. Mental illness can impact a person's living situation. Severe mental illness issues can further exacerbate or make worse the risk of homelessness. These mental health issues include anxiety disorders, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, major depressive disorders. People with serious mental illness sometimes cannot make sound decisions for themselves, including finding a safe place to live. This is the sound reasoning behind placing these individuals into conservatorships, which will save their lives and give them a chance to recover. The connection between addiction and homelessness. Mental health issues that homeless people face often lead to self-medication. Some people use alcohol or street drugs, which can lead to addiction. Now, back in 2020, the National Coalition for the Homeless found that 38% of homeless people, we know it's almost 50 now in 2023, of homeless people are alcohol dependent. Meanwhile, back in 2020, it was 26%. We all know it's higher than that, particularly with the amount of fentanyl deaths. But it's over 26% that are dependent on other substances. Addiction Help, there's an organization called Addiction Help, and they state close to 2/3 of homeless veterans suffer from alcohol or drug abuse. Homeless people are 9 times more likely to die from an opioid overdose than the general population. Veterans and first responders. Veterans are nearly 50% more likely to become homeless than other Americans due to poverty, lack of support, affordable housing, and health care and addiction. Substance use disorder, along with PTSD, are 2 of the 5 most common mental health disorders impacting homeless veterans today, according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, commonly referred to as the VA. Without the proper support, these veterans are much more likely to end up on the street, which we see, which can worsen their substance abuse and other mental health conditions. Some of the most vulnerable and underserved populations are currently homeless. They live on the streets or in shelters and typically do not have access to traditional recovery programs, inside a treatment center or facility, detox centers, rehab programs, substance abuse treatment. But I must state, recovery programs are for those that want it. If they don't want it, that's where we step in, the public, for the common good. So let's move right along. We're going to talk about conservatorships. Mental health, addiction, and homelessness. The difficult conditions and stress of living on the street can cause people to self-medicate with harmful substances. This can often lead to co-occurring disorders or dual diagnosis, which involves struggling with a mental illness alongside alcohol dependency or drug dependency. Not having access to safe, affordable housing can cause insomnia. This may lead to substance use simply because it's easier to find drugs than to find a bed for the night. Many homeless people may also have post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the PTSD, which can lead to substance abuse. Traumatic events may have occurred in their lives, such as war, domestic violence, rape, assault, theft, molestation. People who are duly diagnosed with severe mental illness and substance use disorders constitute over 20% of the homeless persons. They are heterogeneous, which means they are diverse size, shape, color, and extremely vulnerable. And they are an extremely vulnerable subgroup with complex, poorly understood needs. Teenage helplessness and substance abuse. Many homeless teenagers and young adults struggle with SUDs, and SUDs are substance abuse disorders. Teenagers aged 12 to 17 are at a greater risk of homelessness than adults. Factors that contribute to teenage homelessness and substance abuse include severe abuse, growing up in a homeless family, genetic substance abuse, coping mechanisms for stress, co-occurring disorders or dual diagnosis, early exposure to substances and substance abuse, are running away from home. The LGBTQ homelessness and substance abuse. Members of the LGBTQ community suffer from high rates of drug and alcohol use. They also risk homelessness more due to cultural and societal exclusion and minority stress. Homeless homosexual Americans are often subjected to more violence and sexual assault compared to heterosexual people. Homelessness is more common in the transgender community. They also suffer with the side effects of substance abuse and homelessness, which include depression, anxiety, PTSD, and suicidal ideation. And ideation simply means suicidal thoughts and considerations. Addiction treatment for the homeless population. Those who struggle with co-occurring disorders can be difficult to treat. This is because the condition requires both substance abuse and mental health treatment. So, in conclusion, homelessness and addiction are closely linked due to the stress of not having safe and secure housing. Homeless individuals often use harmful substances to self-medicate or to escape from reality. Various factors contribute to homelessness and addiction, such as unemployment, drug dependence, and mental health disorders. Teenagers and minority groups like the LGBTQ community are also at risk of homelessness. Understanding the relationship between addiction and homelessness can encourage us to address addiction treatment for the homeless population. It provides insight into combating this substance use disorder, commonly referred to as SUD. There's a proven solution, a program of recovery. And the first step is for one to admit that they're powerless. If they can't admit it, if they will determine that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. But until one is sick and tired of being sick and tired, until they want it, the only alternative would be a program of conservatorship, which would provide some guidance and accountability. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. California law has tried for almost 50 years to protect people with mental illness from forced treatment. For just as long, critics have said that the state is leaving mentally ill people without treatment, abandoning them to die on the streets. Last week, the critics' argument won out as the legislature of California unanimously passed California Senate Bill 43, which would allow the state to force more people into mental health care or substance use treatment. Governor Gavin Newsom appears likely to sign the bill. Legislators are right that California needs a new approach. But for the bill to help the many Californians who desperately need care, the state needs to enact the law carefully and consistently, drawing on available research and the expertise of people who work in or who have been through the system. We must help those who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They are the ones who want help and wish to recover and have a productive life. Without a program of recovery, without a plan, the homeless addict will not have the tools to maintain a sober, productive life. A program of recovery has helped millions worldwide. Unfortunately, without conservatorship, many suffering addicts will die without ever having the chance to become self-sufficient members of society. San Francisco, we must stop giving money to people who do not want to be accountable for more than showing up to get their monthly checks. Recovering addicts with at least 10 years of continuous sobriety are in agreement and in a unique position. The therapeutic value of one addict helping another is unparalleled. The lack thereof is evidenced by hundreds of suffering addicts on our sidewalks, suffering and dying. Drug addiction is insanity in one of its clearest forms, self-destruction. As Sigmund Freud said, insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. Financial insanity is giving money to addicts and expecting different results. The goal must be recovery, not maintenance. Otherwise, nothing changes. Tough love saves lives. Tough love is going to mean conservatorship. Some people aren't going to like it, and you know what? That's just too bad, because we're talking about saving lives. We've done the soft way. The soft way does not work. And on a personal note, my baby brother is in the grave because of a lack of conservatorship. Addicted, dual diagnosed, how can he or anyone make decisions? They need help. So won't you join me in supporting the efforts for conservatorship in San Francisco? You will see things change before the year is over. Within 90 days from the enactment, the enforcement, you will see things change. Thank you for joining me again on another episode of SFN. I'm Diane, and we'll see you next time. And we'll talk about conservatorships. Bye-bye.